Hello and welcome back to Automation and beamng.drive. Today we are making a European luxury car powered by a V6 that it has not only a turbocharger but a supercharger as well. I hope you enjoy. Today it has a aluminium panel as well as a monocoque chassis made out of glued aluminium. It is going to be a mid-longitudinal engine as well as having double wishbone at the front and double wishbone at the rear. As for the engine, it is going to be a 60-degree V6 made out of ALSI, dual overhead cam, 4-valve and ALSI. It is going to be a smaller engine as it is going to want to rev high as well as it's going to get most of its power out of its induction system. So we're going to go probably just a small 2-litre, pretty much what everything is nowadays. Going to go forged crank with lightweight forged conrods and forged pistons and a harmonic damper. We're going to be going VVT all cams. We'll change the RPM later. Turbo, only a single one with boost control. It is going to be about 8 psi. Sounds pretty good. We'll mess around with that turbo size later. Going to be twin direct injection on a performance mid header, and it is going to be running on E85. As for the exhaust, it's going to be a mid manifold on a high flow 3-way catalytic converter, as well as a reverse flow and a straight flow through muffler. Allow me to tune this to my liking, and I'll be right back. And so here we are with the completed engine. It only has 212 horsepower at the moment, but in beamng this should be increased to about 350 to 400 horsepower. At the moment it has a 11:1 compression ratio with a 22 for the cam profile, 41 on the springs and lifters, revs up to 7,200 RPM. As for the turbo, still single turbo, we have boost control, a 511 horsepower intercooler, variable geometry and ball bearing for the inducer and exducer. As for the fuel system, nothing much has changed, we've just reduced the fuel map and lowered the timing a bit. And same for the exhaust, we've just wiggled some numbers around. Let's give it a listen. I'm liking the sound so far. It will probably sound quite a bit better in beamng.drive after I've done some modifications to the engine sound, like I showed you how to do in the previous video. If you have not seen it, please give it a watch. I'd very much appreciate that. And now, on to the rest of the car. It is going to be all-wheel drive because I suck at driving. Literally no other reason. It is going to have a dual-clutch transmission with 7 speeds, going all the way up to probably 315, who knows. It's going to have a electric LSD, radial tires on a sports compound. We'll mess around with the statistics of these tires later. We're going to have vented disc 2-piston at the front and solid disc 1-piston at the rear. We might increase that to vented disc at the rear as well if it so needs. As for the aerodynamics, we are going to give it a sports under tray with 15 brake cooling, a sport interior and premium infotainment, electric variable power steering and ESC with launch control. It is going to have standard 2000 safety, advanced 2010 safety. It is going to be on active sport springs, gas monotube dampers, and a passive sway bar. And for now, we'll check on a sport preset, but not going to do a time lapse today. We are going to be doing a stream. So I'll catch you in that. If you missed it, which if you're seeing this, chances are you probably have, please go give that a watch if you so please. Very much appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you in beamng.drive. And here we are in beamng.drive with the Drachenfels Streamer, named after the stream that I did to build it. If you weren't there, or if you would like to see how I built the car, please go down in the description below or go to the live section of my YouTube channel and you will find the live stream there. Feel free to give it a watch. But yeah, you'll see most of what I did to make this car, so I'll only go over what's different from when we last spoke in the live stream. I have since completed the pillars, which you know, always a pain, but they are all there. It's all filled in, no purple, apart from, you know, just little gaps here and there. Like, I'd have to go into Blender to fix these, but that's an issue of the way that Automation does their seam lines, and not really something I can fix. There's some clipping issues, but other than that, the interior is pretty much done, to be honest. Nothing really different to change about it. Let's get into testing it around the Automation test track. I found this drives best on sports mode, and yes, we have added a supercharger to the car in beamng.drive, making, I believe it's like 400 horsepower, around that mark. This is pretty good. The old, not ABS, traction control kicking in a lot so it doesn't spin the wheels, but it does make it interesting to be just flooring it and all of a sudden you're just turbo whistle, turbo whistle, turbo whistle. And yeah, so supercharger, very loud, bit too loud potentially. Turn down the old supercharger whine whilst, not whilst, before I send it off to you guys and gals, whatever you identify as. Yeah, so flat through the slingshot, that's pretty bloody good. Ooh, lag spike there. That's not good. Didn't brake early enough, but it's going good. Yeah, so feel free, link in the description down below to my Discord server where you can send in a car for me to review. Little spoiler alert for the next video. And yeah, so if you want to be in the next one, not the one that's about to come out after this, oh dear, but the one that will come out after it, then feel free to join my Discord server in the description. You can also download all my cars, if I can be bothered to upload them, which I will try my best to do so, to upload all of my cars that I have made since the last time I uploaded the cars. And yeah, it's doing well. Might want to, I think we'll, after this lap, just do another lap where we'll just zoom through it till the end. So we'll do a time lapse of what's happening, and then we'll see the car afterwards, what sort of lap time it can do. But with me talking and not in like full sweat mode, it does a 223.175 around the Automation test track. And it does a 2-minute 4.409. Pretty good. That was after turning off the old ESC traction control, etc. So it's obviously going to be faster because we're not losing any of that precious horsepower due to reduced throttle input. But yeah, that's pretty big difference from the 223. Like, saved an extra 20 seconds, which is madness. Does help that we didn't crash at all, so obviously we're going to save some time there. But yeah, very fast, at least in my opinion anyway. Some might argue it's not the fastest, and obviously it's not, but for a sports car, pretty good. And now I think the obvious thing to do, the only thing to do, is take it around the Nürburgring Nordschleife. This being a German car, it obviously should go around a German track. And what track better than the Nordschleife, the probably arguably the most famous track in Germany. And so, hopefully this will go better than the last time I went around the Nordschleife, at least in a recording anyway, because let's just say that did not go well. So coming through the first corner, I refuse to learn the corner names just because I want to spite Flopper, I guess, now. Who is German guy I know from Film and Server. He has hosted some user events, and so if you want to get involved in any sort of events, then there'll also be a link in the description down below to Filmman86's server. Make sure you read the rules and follow them. And there is a section called User Events, where I'm most likely going to participate in all the events there. If I am available at the time they are held. We're going to brake for this corner here so we don't go flying. I was playing Gran Turismo 5 earlier, and I took that at full speed. Flew a solid 100 meters. Probably more like 25 meters, but yeah, not fun to lose grip over that, you know. Can't have grip if your tyres aren't on the ground. Gonna brake nice and early just before the new pavement. And then full throttle just after the pavement here changes back to the older tarmac. Is where you want to brake. Normally I brake just as it changes, but this car I trust the brakes a bit more. It's like a performance car, but in a race car usually you'll brake around the transition between the old and new surface. In this car it's not going as fast, but it still brakes just as good as a race car can. Ooh. Oh no! Kept it running, got a bit of damage, but it still handles fine, no suspension damage, so that's good. Yeah, so normally you want to brake just as the pavement changes to the older surface, but this car still brakes really good, so we can brake just that little bit later, save an extra bit of time. Obviously, we're not going to be helped by the damage we have now taken, so our lap time is going to be a little bit less due to the time loss of not only crashing, but also any damage we've received. So it will change our weight balance, meaning that our cornering performance will be hindered, which is a bit of a pain, but this thing handling the corners well. I'm a bit cautious when it comes to the Nordschleife, so lap times might be slower than like peak perfection, but also I'm able to get around a lap without killing the car usually. Sometimes if I'm unpracticed with either the circuit, the car, or both at the same time, I will make a couple mistakes here and there. But other than that, it's going quite well into this corner here, which is notorious for crashes, and so when you are driving it as a public road, as an autobahn, it is limited to 50 kilometers an hour for everyone's safety. Especially during the rain, because like if it's raining there's just no grip through there. But yeah, onto this nice big long straight now. I lie, always forget about this corner. Like when you look at it, it's deceptive. Like it doesn't look like it's essentially a hairpin, but it is. And it's not fun, to say the least, when, ooh goodness, you can see the effects of the damage we've received now. Yeah, it's not fun to go into a corner thinking it's a nice flowing corner you can take a decent chunk of speed into, but no, it's a hairpin that you gotta brake for. So, yeah, not ideal, but the car is still controllable through this high-speed straight section. That's not so straight. Ooh. Bit of wheel spin there, but overall still handling well. I am using the Sport ESC because I want to be able to talk at the same time as driving, and as you can tell, even with it on, it's helping a little bit obviously, but for the most part it's not really doing much, to be honest. Yeah, coming up to the first of the carousels now, which means we're about the halfway mark. I mean, we've already passed the halfway mark, kilometer-wise, because this is only a 20 to 21 kilometer circuit, and we're already like 14 kilometers in now. Yep, 14 kilometers now. So yeah, halfway through, 5 minutes. Gonna predict maybe an 8-minute time, potentially. Actually, it might be a bit higher than, a bit low for this car. It might be closer to 9 minutes, but we will see. braking into this corner now. It's a very nice flowing corner if you can get it right. A lot of race cars can take that, not necessarily flat out, but it can certainly take it at a reasonable speed, not having to brake for it, if at all, but potentially a little bit depending on what category you're racing in, especially in older cars. You're gonna have less grip due to less wind tunnel technology, not as aerodynamic as today's cars are, and so you're not gonna have that downforce pushing you into the surface of the road. Coming up to, like, arguably one of my favorite sections. It's just a very, I don't know what it is about this complex of corners, but it's definitely my favorite section of the track. Try not to cut it too much, at least keep one wheel on the surface of the road. A lot of people have problems with the curbs in this version of the track, especially around here is where I've had some issues. Usually I'm fine, but just depends on what I'm driving and how I'm driving it. So sometimes if you go over the curbs a bit too aggressively, you will pop a tyre. At the moment we're doing fine, and we are approaching the second carousel. Here you want to brake slightly before the transition to the new track surface, or if you're feeling adventurous you can brake at the transition, but would not recommend it if you want to keep your car alive. If you're trying to get the best lap time possible, then by all means go ahead, but I personally choose to brake a little bit before it, but it's a good reference point for braking. And coming up onto the final straight now, gonna understeer a bit through here because it's not really off cambered, it is cambered in, but it's gonna want to make your car go wide a bit. And then you're going to want to stay as centered as possible down this straight, as for whatever reason tires do like to pop on the left and right hand side sometimes. I've only experienced it like twice, but it's still an issue that can happen, so I do highly recommend that you try your best just to stay in the middle. Obviously on wheel it'll be a bit easier, and then also without damage it'd be a lot easier, because assumably I just have to do some micro inputs, but it will just keep itself centered without any help. Coming up to the line now, 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Absolutely amazing time. I'll see what sort of time that is in comparison to cars in the real world, and I'll be right back. And here is a list of cars we are comparable to. In editing, I will invert this so that it is not incredibly blinding like it is to me now, but we are relatively comparable to a Honda NSX, a Audi TT S Coupe from 2015, a Golf GTR Mark IV from pre-facelift. We are comparable to an FK2 Civic Type R. We are comparable to a Corvette C6, a GR Yaris, a Mark 7 Golf R again, except this time the 2013 pre-facelift instead of the 2014 pre-facelift. How the heck did they make it slower? What the heck are you doing, Volkswagen? Anyway, we are comparable to a Seat Leon Cupra, a Range Rover Sport SVR. Oh dear, that's not good. That's not good at all. We're as slow as a Range Rover. You're killing me here. We're close to an M5, close to a Dodge Viper, close to a Lotus Esprit Sport. We are close to a Mercedes-Benz C63. We are close to a Porsche Cayenne Turbo, a Arteaga GT. Not heard of it. Looks interesting. Looks a bit like a combination of a Porsche and a Lotus, which is interesting. Yeah, so we are comparable to a few cars. Like, we're comparable to the SLK, so actually, to be honest, that's an accomplishment from Range Rover right there, considering that they've got it the same time as a Mercedes-Benz SLK 55 Black Series. That's pretty good, to be honest. Like, I'm happy with that now. Yeah, so arguably pretty good time. and let's give it one last final test. At the car jump arena, we are going to jump this thing off, and yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to the, well, so far 2 people, but anyone really who's like wished me the best with the headache I've been dealing with recently. It's not been fun. Ooh, wow. A lot of front lift. 410, that's pretty good. Can we get it slowed down? No, we cannot. Yeah, so I've been dealing with a bit of a headache recently. It's been going away slowly. It's a lot better than it was at the very start. Goodness, it is a lot better than it was at the start. But yeah, so thank you for sticking around and watching to the end of the video. Thank you for being patient, waiting for the video to come out. And yeah, I'll see you probably in 2 days, to be honest. Goodbye. Stop saying goodbye, you can't do it properly. It just sounds cringe. Stop doing it. Okay? Stop.